Thank you. It's great to be here. I missed last year, unfortunately, and it's good to be back. A lot's happened in 2 years since I was here. And the perspective you'll hear from me today is one of a large international oil and gas company. In my case, speaking on behalf of ExxonMobil, and I'm responsible for global exploration. So it's where we're investing in the next oil and gas projects. And it'll be along the lines of the theme of the conference, so energy, security, and diversification. And the three themes of geopolitics, economy, and innovation, we'll touch on all of those. And it'll be in terms of, we heard a lot about geopolitics this morning. It'll be really about the opportunity to build geopolitical partnerships across countries to make solutions for the region. In terms of the economy, it creates investment and economic prosperity and growth. And then in the third one, innovation, there's a lot of technology behind oil and gas exploration and development. So we'll hear a little bit about that. Three main points today. Being a very large international oil and gas company, we look at energy supply and demand very closely and what drives that. So the main picture there, we'll share what's changing as we look forward to where we make investments, and that's a very dynamic space. Second point, we'll talk about the importance that natural gas plays in that, both today and looking ahead to the future, and what some of those changes might be, both in the short term and long term. And the third point, and most important, we'll bring that back to Cyprus and the Eastern Mediterranean to talk about what resources might exist here, the investments that ExxonMobil and others are making, and what those potential outcomes could do for the country and the region. So just to put into perspective ExxonMobil's objective, it's really very simple. It's to deliver energy that sustains modern society and to ever reduce the emissions associated with that energy. And we'll talk about the types of energies that are important. So first of all, when we look at the global picture, population's increasing, the demand for energy is increasing. And so as part of supplying that demand, there's not a lot of debate about the growing need for energy. The debate comes around, well, where's the energy going to come from? How much of that's going to be from oil and gas, renewables? And the bottom line there is we're going to need all of it. And then it's very simple to roll that up at a global level. It's when you start to break it down into regions and markets, where the energy supply is coming from, where the market demand is, and moving that around the world with that geopolitical overlay. That's a challenge that our industry works on every day. The second part of that, we work very hard on emissions. So there's a huge amount of investment going into emissions reduction, both in terms of how we generate more electrons and also how we move molecules. And when I talk about molecules, it's oil, gas, and hydrogen. We use all of those. And the expertise that our industry has is how to manipulate those molecules into products that support modern society. So talk a little bit maybe now about the importance of natural gas in two time frames. One near term. So as we look at the flow of energy around the world, natural gas is a unique molecule. We can liquefy it, move it from large supply centers like the Middle East, places like Mozambique, Australia to the demand centers, and that's through LNG and liquefied natural gas. So it creates that type of market. The opportunity that provides to us is to replace higher emissions forms of energy, such as burning coal or any sort of biomass, lignite in some cases. And so that's a huge opportunity to reduce emissions today with technology that exists today. When you look at the United States, over the 15-year period from 2005 to 2020, just the transition from coal to natural gas gave us a third, so 33% reduction in emissions, and that could be implemented much more broadly around the world. So we really need to get gas into those markets that need it to really avoid coal, and that's a near-term priority. So it will be a transition fuel. If we look to the longer term, what does natural gas do for us? We can convert natural gas into hydrogen, and in conjunction with carbon capture and storage, we can take the CO2 out. So we're basically breaking a methane molecule into CO2 and hydrogen. We burn the hydrogen, which by definition zero emissions at that point, and we store the CO2. So pre-combustion capture. And that's what we're doing in the Gulf Coast. And the benefit of that is it takes hard to decarbonize sectors and reduces those emissions by 90%. So a huge incentive to do that. If we look to the close to home here, huge potential for gas exploration. So we've seen great discoveries in the Israeli sector, Leviathan, Tamar, in Egypt, Zohr, and also in Cyprus with Aphrodite, Kronos, Glaucus. The challenge now is to get these discoveries developed. And so for ExxonMobil, we've spent the last 2 years collecting very detailed three-dimensional seismic data, which allows us to see below the surface and also see below salt in the Eastern Med. I can confirm that we've been successful in those seismic acquisitions. We've identified several large prospects, and the next stage is to bring in a drilling rig and to test those. And that rig is on its way from West Africa. As we speak, it'll arrive in Egypt in mid-December, drill one well there, which is a quick one. It'll take 1 month, and then it'll come to Cyprus, and we'll spud our first well in mid-January. So very excited about that. And so when we get together next year, we'll be here to talk about well results and hopefully gas discoveries, and that will then transition to a discussion around how we develop that gas. So with that, I'll conclude.
Thank you very much.